Welcome to the Runna Podcast. I'm Ben, head coach.
And I'm Anya, international marathon runner. And we're proud to be the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide.
We'll be having truly insightful conversation with truly inspirational guests, as well as bringing you tips and tricks for runners of all abilities.
Today on the podcast, we spoke to the incredible Tim Don, who is not just a 3-time Olympian, but broke the world record for the fastest time doing an Ironman in Brazil. This was before carbon-plated shoes, may I add. He unfortunately broke his neck in an awful accident just 3 days out from the Kona Ironman World Championships. And he shared his incredible, inspiring journey of getting back to his potential. He's known as the Halo after having an unconventional method to get back to competitive training. He had a carbon fiber halo around his head with screws going into his skull, which he actually brought in to show us today. He was back on the bike before you know it, and even ran a marathon 6 months after his accident. He then went on to go back to win a 70.3. He is such an incredibly inspiring person who we can all learn something of. Enjoy the episode. Hi, Tim. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Very well. How are you guys?
Good, thanks. Do you have a nice run?
Yeah, very well. I'm just catching my breath after trying to keep up with Tim around Battersea Park for 10K.
I guess we'll start right at the beginning of your journey. What got you moving into health and fitness on day one?
I think I was lucky that it was a long time ago, that there wasn't that kind of like social element. It was just playing football with my friends. It was just riding my bike, and then from that, I got, through school, just running, like joined my local running club, which back then was called Hounslow Running Club. Now I think it's Windsor, Slough and Eton and Hounslow Running Club. So very long-winded. It's moved up market. I just always loved it. I had an older sister who was a runner, and then a rower, and it's pretty easy and pure thing to do.
Do you think it was always having an older sister that you looked up to that meant you kind of like wanted to copy her and found it fun, or?
I'll be honest, not copy, wanted to probably beat her.
Okay.
Yeah, very competitive family. My parents were really active as well. So, I remember when I was 6 or 7, my dad would go for a run and I'd be on my BMX riding next to him, kind of like, keeping up for the loop that he used to. I still remember the loop now. So, we always did lots of things together. Whenever we went on holiday, we'd always take our bikes, go, and I swam a lot as well. When I was younger, I learnt to swim at Teddington Swimming Pool in southwest London as well.
And so when you joined the Hounslow Running Club, were you better than all your peers, or?
That is so funny. No, I wasn't. I was probably one of the worst ones in the group, because my group, after about a year and a half, my group consisted of someone called Mo Farah, someone called Sam Hockian, who was a very dear friend of mine, who unfortunately had a car accident and died young, but he was like a 13-minute 5K runner, and another lad called Ben Whitby, who went to the Commonwealth Games, and Sam and Ben also went to my school. So I was probably top 6, 7 in the county, but in my school I was still number 3. So I knew from a very early age I loved running, but these guys were just next level.
Wow. I mean, what are the chances? And do you think it's the case that you all went on to achieve what you did because you were pushing each other, or do you think it was just pure chance that these genetic specimens were all in one place?
It was just pure chance. I mean, I remember I grew up near Bushy Park. I'd be driving home, or my mum would be driving me home from early morning swimming, and I'd see this pack of East Africans walk into Bushy Park at like 7 o'clock. And this is in the 90s, because they'd been bought over by Kim McDonald, who was their agent, to run, and they'd be walking to Bushy Park to do their track session. I'd go down to the local track at Kingston, and we had Sonia O'Sullivan and Craig Mottram, Daniel Coleman. And for me, that was normal. Richard Narurka, one of the Britain's greatest marathon runners. And for me, it was normal to see these guys, a pack of East Africans running around Bushy Park at like 240k pace. That was every day. And when I look back, I'm like, man, it was like the Silicon Valley of endurance world. And I was just so lucky to be involved in that.
Yeah, but surely like having those people to look up to make you believe it's possible must have helped, because I just think I didn't know any marathon runners. I didn't think you could do that. Like when I was younger, I wish I had all of that.
I think, absolutely. You looked up to them, but they're so normal. They're not, they are superstars, but on a day-to-day basis, my gosh, they work hard, they train hard. You know, I didn't see them as like, you know, David Beckham stood there, you know, shaving his head off, Alex Ferguson going nuts, and he still scores the curly free kick. You know, it wasn't like that. It was like, well, look at them. They're on their knees, having just finished a track session. I'm on my knees. This is the way forward. You know, did then I dream of becoming an Olympian? Did I dream of? No, I just wanted to be better than I was yesterday. And that's all they aspired to. But they're better than they were yesterday was a world record. It was being a national champion.
And so it was really just seeing people work that hard, which is really what inspired you.
And enjoy it. You know, kind of like, and it was something, and I know this sounds a bit cliche, there's something pure about everyone killing each other on the running track, putting on their tracksuits, but taking off their racing flats, no carbon shoes back then, putting on their trainers and just having a laugh on the warm down. There was no, they ran better than me, I ran better than them. It was just like everyone was in it together. There was definitely an endurance movement, you know, when I was younger, which, yeah, it was just awesome. Yeah.
And so there was running in the Hounslow Track Club, the running club.
Yeah.
When did cycling and swimming start to be part of your kind of routines?
So kind of, I guess, so I swam a lot, you know, when I was growing up, and then a good friend of mine, Stuart Hayes, he went to London Olympics for triathlon, a local lad. We've known each other since we went to primary school. He said, you know, you should try this thing called duathlon. So I think there's a place in Chertsey called Tank Tracks, an army military training place, and they had a closed road duathlon. And I remember it was I had my trainers on. I didn't have any, you know, cycling shoes, and I think I got 6, and it was the top 6 went to the European duathlon champs, and I was like 14 at the time, and I got 6, and Stuart got 7th. And this guy came up to me and says, "Oh, you know, here's the letter, you've been selected." And Stuart, he told me to go do the race. I got like knocked him off on, and yeah, I went to the European champs in Finland, and I got 4th. Wow. And I was like,
and did you learn to use cleats in this time?
That time I did. Yeah,
okay.
I saved up, went to Richmond Cycles and bought the cheapest pair of cleats, or my mum and dad bought me the cheapest pair of cleats. And then I was like, what is this? And I was at the stage then of looking for some work. I did a paper round, but it wasn't enough. So I got a job. I did my lifeguard course, got a job as a lifeguard at Hampton Open Air Pool. There was Thames Turbo Triathlon Club then, who was then sponsored by a bike shop in Wandsworth. But the guy who owned it lived in Teddington, so that's why it was they sponsored it. And I joined the local triathlon club, and there was this guy there who I knew from my swimming background called Spencer Smith, who was the then world champion, and that was his local tri club. And yeah, I guess the rest is history.
I feel like doing that, they always say is it's kind of like genetic or environment. And so much of what you're saying is just the perfect environment. But then you did mention that your parents both were into their running as well, right?
Yeah, my mum's a badminton player, not competitive or anything, but my dad, he was a Premier League referee. So he's been to the World Cup, done European Championships, the FA Cup, and then when he retired, he set up the professional referees for the Premier League. So always very fit, very healthy. My sister rode for Oxford. She's actually yesterday competed in the World Winter Triathlon Champs, so cross-country skiing, mountain biking, and running all on the snow. She's done the Engadine cross-country marathon, we're just an active family, so really, very competitive.
So it really is the combination of exactly both. It's you landed in this perfect environment of doing elite runners, triathlon, and then clearly with a phenomenal kind of genetic background as well.
So basically you're saying it's nothing to do with me and my hard work. Cheers, mate.
It's exactly both. But so you kind of get into triathlon through the Thames Turbo. Yeah. And how did the triathlon go?
So, again, I promise I'm not making this up. The club coach was a guy called Graham Fletcher, who was doing a master's at Brunel University, and he was a triathlon coach. He obviously saw something in me when I was, so this is in 92, 93. He then got me, he then started writing me a program. He printed out this A4 piece of paper, had the days of the week here, had swim, bike, run, out of 10, how you feel, how many hours you were sleeping. So I guess that was my what's it called? HRT,
yep.
You know, your Whoop score. He was doing all of that kind of stuff back in the early 90s. He gave me a training program, and I did more with the club, really enjoyed it. And he coached me to to my I guess my first world title. So yeah, it was, but just as my local triathlon club, who was a 23-year-old, master's student.
And how long did it take to go from starting your triathlon journey to taking your first world title? How did that go, and was it smooth sailing?
Never smooth sailing. I mean, nothing is linear in sport. I mean, we know that, whether you're, I don't know, a football team or a triathlete or a runner. My first, I guess, like in the big scheme of things, my first world title, I was 69. My first time representing Great Britain at the World Championships, I was 69th and about 11 minutes behind the winner. Then the next year I was 18th. The next year I didn't finish. And then the fourth year as a junior, I was world champion. So it took 4 years. And I was saying earlier on the run, when I got fourth as a youth at the European Triathlon Champs, I did finish fourth. What I didn't say, full disclosure, I was the third Brit. The guy that won it was British, and the guy that was second that was British. And it was just, all ships were rising on this tide. I was in, there was myself and Stuart Hayes. He's a year younger than me, at Thames Turbo. Every bank holiday Monday, they had a race. There were 4 of the British team from East Grinstead Tri Club, which was just around the corner. So we'd go to the Sevenoaks Triathlon, and it was like the best juniors in the country, because it was local. They'd all come and do the Hampton Pool race. We'd do the East Grinstead race. So I was fortunate. I know we don't get that now. Everyone wants to race overseas, international, in this junior. But we were going to our local races with guys who are, the best in the country. Yeah, it was a phenomenal time.
Well, they always say to be the best at anything or to get better, you just got to surround yourself with people who are better than you. And that seems to have been around you in all of these different areas of your journey.
And it's so true, because I think the secret to being the best is almost not believing you're the best. You've got to train like you still want to be there. Yes, it's cliche, but it's easy to get to the top because you've got that goal. But when you get there, what do you do? And I think the best that stay there the long, whether it's Michael Schumacher, whether it's Lionel Messi, whether it's now Alex Yee, Alistair Brownlee, Jonathan Brownlee, is training every day like you're a contender. And yeah, no, I'm a big believer of that. Having a process, sticking to your plan, believing in it. Enjoying it on the way, don't get me wrong, but I think you need to train every day, like you want to be a world champion, you want to do it again.
I think that's what I like about triathlon or so many things, but if you're the best at the swimming, you might not be the best at the cycling or the best at the running. I think that's why triathlons get so competitive, and it's why it's so exciting to watch, because you can always work on something else the next day, and why they all become superhuman. Which were you best at, and did you have to focus on one to get there, to get to where you are now?
Yeah, I was always definitely a better runner. At my best, I've run 13:39 for 5K. I've run competitive 1500 meters as a triathlete. And when I started, there was no drafting. So I would do these junior world champs, and there was no drafting. So you had to be strong on the bike. And then drafting started to come in because World Triathlon had their eye on Sydney, on being an Olympic sport. And it wasn't going to work having a non-drafting race because it was getting impossible to police, because everyone was coming out the water so close together, as we can see in lots of races, so you couldn't spread them out. So it was and I was a good swimmer, but I wasn't the greatest of swimmer. And all of a sudden the swim was important because you had to make that lead group. You had to be at the front. Once those packs had formed, it was very hard to jump across. So I really had to join Kingston Royals, my local swim club at the time. We used to swim at a place called Heron Lake. I don't know if they still swim it. It's a disabled water ski lake. We used to swim there twice a week with Thames Turbo. And I really had to, but again, training means nothing if you don't execute in racing. I'm a big believer of training to race. Everything you do in training, whether you're a swimmer, if you don't touch with 2 hands in breaststroke, you forget it once in a race, you're going to get disqualified. So I really wanted to emphasize that it doesn't matter if I've got the best streamline off the wall, dolphin kick. Can you do that in a triathlon? No. So it's kind of like, I really had to work on my swimming, and that's what that 4-year progression from 69th to being a world champion was about. But we had that process along the way.
And so from that kind of world title, when you go on to the Olympics, you go on to Ironman and set the world record for the Ironman, was that the goal? And maybe 5 years before that, did you believe that could ever happen?
No chance. No, I mean, when I was younger, you kind of wanted to be world champion and go to Kona because it wasn't an Olympics. And then, as I was a teenager, it was like, we're going, and it's like, wow, that was the one thing, all my run groups are going to the Commonwealth Games, they're going to the Olympics, everyone around me, that's what they're training for, that 4-year cycle. And then all of a sudden it was like, no, I want to go to the Olympics. But no, I mean, yeah, you got a dream. But I think on a daily basis, that is not what I was thinking about. And I'll be honest, those early years, I mean, we were having fun. I finished my A-levels. I took a gap year. Friends of ours lived in the south of France. They had a spare room. Me and my good mate, Gav Smith, who coached Cassandra Beaugrant to her Olympic gold last year. We went down to the south of France for like 8 weeks. Then I went to Zimbabwe for the whole winter in the 90s because it was great altitude training. And, I was like, why train in the rain of London and when I can go down to the southern hemisphere? So for me, it was always about the journey, the adventure. Mm-hmm. And there was no funding, there was no structure within the federation. You had your British Triathlon license and kind of like that was it. So the sport, when I look back, it has evolved at light speed. It really, really has.
So you've been to 3 Olympic Games. At what point, well, firstly, that's amazing, congratulations. At what point did you feel like it was right to step up to like Ironman distance? Was there...
I mean, I think, it was. I wish I'd stepped up earlier, to be honest. But in 2012, so my last games were Beijing in 2008, and unfortunately, I got food poisoning 3 days before the race, and I got lapped on the bike because I was like, I'd lost 4 kilograms. I was half the man I was. The last race I did before Beijing. I'd won by 25 seconds. Jan Frodeno had a sprint finish with Bevan Doherty, who got the 2 medals at Beijing. That was hard for me to swallow. And I was like, no, I'm not going to retire because I was young. I want to go and do Ironman. But obviously London was calling. And that was at the time when there were these 2 blooming plucky brothers from Yorkshire who were getting rather good. And and unfortunately, the federation took domestiques to work for them. So I wish I hadn't have gone for it, but it was that allure. But Kona's special. Like how many sports do you say? It's like you win Wimbledon, you don't win a Grand Slam. You win New York Marathon. Kona. If I say it within the endurance world, if you say, yeah, I'm going to Kona, it's like, have you ever been to Kona? Is not the nicest of places, but in our world, it means everything. Well, you say I'm going to the world champs for triathlon, and it just has that allure to it. So it was definitely 2012 at the end. That's when I said, I need to reinvent myself. I need to change my infrastructure. When you travel in Europe, if you've got your bike and someone says, oh, what do you do? And you say, I'm a pro triathlete. They go, oh, have you been to the Olympics? When you travel in America, you've got your bike. First thing they ask, they go, are you in a band? I'm like, no, it's not a piano. It's not a drum kit. It's really bizarre. But you say you're a pro triathlete. They don't ask if you've been to the Olympics. They say, have you been to Kona? So in October 2012, I'd been to Boulder before in 2002 to train. I love altitude training. It really works for me. And I'd train in Colorado Springs and Denver. And I thought, you've either got to go to Germany and train there because Ironman's huge there. I can't speak German. You've got to go to America. And there's this place called Boulder, which I'd been to. So in October, I took my wife there for a week with our physio. And she was like, yeah. Got to work, got a professional sports visa. And in 2013, lost most of my sponsors because I'd gone from the short course to long course. Yeah. Emigrated for 4 years, moved to America with my wife and my young daughter, and that's when I kind of had to reinvent myself as a long course, as an Ironman 70.3 athlete.
There's a huge amount of risk and huge amount of, I guess, confidence to believe that you can make it.
Right. Nothing ventured, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right?
How long into the world of Ironman did it take for it to really start to work out and be on a path to be the greatest in that sport?
Well, we almost moved back about 5 weeks. So we moved on April the 4th. And I remember the selling point to Kelly, my amazing wife, is that 300 days of sun. 300 days of sun. We got there April the 4th. I said, by mid-May, we're almost divorced. We're almost on a plane back to England, because April in Colorado had record snowfall. 44 inches of snow in April, which is like up to there. You told me it was snow, even when it snows, it was. And when we went in October, it was cold, like -2, but you still had to put it's like skiing, you still had to put, and it was hilarious. So it took a while, because I'd gone from being, and I'm not saying the centre of attention at all, but when you watch a WTS, it's at 2 p.m. in that city. Everyone comes to watch it. That weekend, the buzz is in that city and in the world was that to racing at 6 a.m. in a muddy field in the middle of nowhere, being part of 3,000 people racing. And the first year, I was so fortunate that I was working with Julie Dibbons, who went to Athens Olympics representing Great Britain. Mm-hmm. She'd moved across to America. Her husband's American. She podiumed at Kona, won World 70.3s, and now she was a coach. And I wanted to have a coach that understood the transfer from short course, the dynamics of the variability of racing, up and down, attacking on the bike and the run, to that sustained effort. The first year, I think I won my last race, which was Augusta, but that was kind of like November time. And I was coming off the bike with the lead group, or getting dropped at the end, going, here we go, 71 minutes, 1 hour 20. And I was like, what is going on? It really is different,
Mm-hmm. How did the short course help you? Do you think it did, doing so much Olympic distance? Absolutely.
I was never nervous, because, you hear that drum, don't you? Dum, dum, and everyone's lined up. Well, here, and the swim's so rough in short course. I mean, people get cited for, I think there's a German athlete that she's had a couple of 15-second penalties, because they can clearly see. Alistair Brownlee got disqualified in his last race for beating someone up in the swim. It's very aggressive, and everyone's going, oh, that long course race was so aggressive, and I'm going, dude, you have no idea. It's like a 1,500 meter start compared to a marathon start. Yes, it's hustle and bustle. So that kind of stuff was very relaxed. And you're very much master of your own destiny, because I know what numbers I can hold on the bike. I know what numbers, I thought I could hold on the run. It took a while to get there, and that's it. But in a short course race, if you attack and I want to win the race, you've got to bridge that gap. On the run, I don't want to let that lead group go, because it's only 30 minutes of running. It's not an hour 12, or in a marathon, 2 hours 45, 2 hours 50. So it was quite, I always said Ironman training is simpler, because you're very much in charge of your own destiny. While short course, it's such a tactical race. It really is.
And I guess Ironman does go very well, and you go on to set the world record. What was it like to know that you were the best in the world that's ever lived?
It's funny. It's funny. I mean, now I'm older, and I'm like, I can take that to, that's always been mine. Yes, the record's been beaten now and whatnot by amazing athletes, but in the grand scheme of things, I still think the official record is only 6 or 7 minutes quicker, and over 7 hours, it's not that much.
With the new bike technology, new shoe technology,
I never had carbon shoes,
gel technology.
Yeah, so basically you're saying I'm still quicker than
yeah.
You. Thank you. No, so it was in Brazil, which is a fast course. The year before, they just missed out on the Lionel Saunders was the Ironman World Record holder at the time, and Brent McMahon, an Olympian, another Canadian, he missed out by like 40 seconds. So we knew it was a quick course, and I remember I was 12k into the run, and Frank Jacobson, I was racing for a team called Bravo, and he was the team's coach. And he said, if you run a 2:48, you're going to break the record. And I was thinking, and I had like a 18-minute lead off the bike. I had a new bike coach as well, Matt Bottrell. We really worked on that really changed how I raced and pacing strategies and whatnot. And I was like, brilliant. What record? And I was enjoying it. And he was like, the world record. And I went from enjoying it to going, I can only, I really can. It's only going. And oh man, that last like 23k, I was looking at my watch, and oh my God, it was, and then coming to the finish, it's about 400 meters. Everyone's going, yeah, you're going to do it. You're so close. And what is so close in an Ironman? Is it 10 minutes, which is so close, or is it 30 seconds? And I remember thinking, well, I'm just going to keep going. I can feel the cramps coming on, but I'm going to keep going. I'll turn in the straight. You see the finish gantry, and then I can either go yes or no. Turned in the finish gantry, and you got, the carpet, the crowds. And obviously the clock isn't facing me, it's facing them. So then they, so when they take the photo of you crossing the line, for all the age groupers, for everyone, it's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm fully like sprinting down there. And then I think I've got a great picture on my wall and I'm kind of like this. And I'm like, thank God for that. Because I genuinely didn't know. Because you always, you trust it, but you never know. And it was really bizarre because, within the Ironman world, I was a very good Ironman. I'd won my first Ironman. I'd top 15 at Kona. I'd podiumed in every Ironman I'd done. I'd podiumed at World 70.3s with Javi winning, Jan second, and myself third, world-class fields. But it was very much like I had such a balanced race. I had a 44-minute swim, a 4:06 bike, which back then it was a good bike time. Now it's pretty average. And then I ran a 2:44 marathon with no carbon shoes. It was brilliant. But then, like, what do you do next? It's like I had to really think, and that was massive.
And that's that gold medal syndrome, right?
It is.
And what did you focus on thereafter?
Well, for me then, 2017, it was Kona. This was end of May. So it was definitely, Julie, she messaged me, she was going all in for Kona. And I was like, hell yeah. I'm fortunate enough, I'm through years of training at altitude and with the sports scientists of the Federation, we're really good in the heat, the humidity. And, I definitely believed I could win Kona in 2017. I not believed he could win. I always think that's arrogant. I could believe I could fight for a podium. And yeah, that was definitely, that was on the cards that year for sure.
I guess one part of your triathlon journey that maybe didn't go as smooth was a big crash. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I turned up to Kona. So I broke the Ironman World Record, went to the World 70.3s. Javi won, Ben Canute was second, I was third. I was kind of like the first of the Ironman athletes. Everything was good. I was swimming with the lead group, biking comfortably. Really, it was a really fast run in Chattanooga, 2017. Got to Kona early. I'd been in I was living in Colorado, so we'd had training camps there, knew what, when, where, how. Numbers were good. And 3 days before, it was an easy ride in a cycle lane. Had a crash. I remember waking up going, oh my God, my shoulder. Thinking, oh God, what have I done? And everyone's like, don't move. And I remember bits, I don't remember bits. By that time, I'm in and out of consciousness. I'm back at the hospital. Julie's there. Franco, my manager, he's there. And I'm thinking, have I had an x-ray? Yep. And how's my shoulder? How's my collarbone? Not broken. I'm thinking, brilliant. It's not broken. That's awesome. I can still race. That's great. I probably won't swim as well, but, I can still do it. And then they wanted to do a CAT scan. I'd had an MRI and I was like, yeah. And you lay, I would say, a silk sheet, but it's not. It's like this polyester shiny sheet. And they kind of put you on it and then they slide you onto the CAT scan. They did, and there's someone's got your ankle, your hip, and your head, and they pull you across. I do my CAT scan, and then after the CAT scan, they go, through the walkie-talkie. They go, yep, you're all done. I'm brilliant, and I'm like, what the hell? They go, no, don't move. We're just going to put this brace on your neck again. So I put the brace on the neck, and all of a sudden, I'm like, what's going on? I've got a nurse with my ankle, a nurse holding here, and all of a sudden, it got very serious, and that's when they told me I broke my neck, and at the moment, I'm like, give me the morphine, man, sugar. I just want to get rid of this pain. So, and you're practical because you're like, okay, if you go to the doctors, you've got a sore throat and they tell you need antibiotics, you're not questioning it. Okay, what do we need to do? And I'd say the next 48 hours was a blur because it was very much the practical thing of living. And then they fitted the halo. And everyone's like, did you watch Kona? Were you emotional? And I was like, well, no, to be honest, I was so high on blooming morphine and codeine and this, that, the other. And that's when, I wouldn't say my life changed, but I think the word perspective meant something because I had a son by then as well. So my daughter, my son, and all of a sudden it was always this holy grail, this quest of being the best in the world. And, when you're younger, you just want to be the best. And when you're older, you want to do it for your family and for your coaches. And then there's another, your why changes. And all of a sudden my why was my family, was the people along my career that had meant something to me, that I'd meant something to them. And, but I didn't want it to end, you know, you always want to end on your own terms. And that's why I was hell bent on trying to get back. Did I believe I could be the same athlete? I think deep down, no, but I was kidding myself thinking that I could still get to those lofty heights of racing for a world title.
Well, that's such a unfortunate thing to have to go through. Was the halo a choice?
It was a choice, yeah.
So tell us about the halo, and for those listening, what was the halo?
What is a halo? Yeah. So I was very fortunate that the doctor, Dr. V or Mr. V, the guy, he is one of 4 neuro, spinal and brain surgeons. He's one of 4 in the country in America that can operate neurally on your spine and on your brain. You know, he's really, really like the most, like, just like crazy. You know, that's his thing. But the beauty about it is he's also done Kona. So when you say you're a bit fit, he lived in Boulder or Denver, Boulder. And I'd actually, unfortunately, my daughter got very ill when she was younger and had to have brain surgery. And he was the surgeon that we went to. So I kind of knew him. Terrible bedside manner. But he came in and goes, you've got 3 options, but you've got 1 option. You can either wear an aspen collar, so like a soft neck collar, which is basically like a plaster cast, but it's not as strong as a plaster cast, and you have movement. You can either have a fusion, so they would fuse C2 and C1 together with 2 titanium bolts. The problem with that is your vertebrae, everything moves independently. By these 2 moving together, it puts stress on 3, 4, and 5. So with an active life, and not quite as active as you, because I know you like a bit of everything, you will then need to have another fusion where they go in, they go like that, and they put a mesh on kind of like your whole upper spine, you know, because the deterioration. Or you can have a halo, which is what I'd recommend. Cool, I'll have a halo. What is a halo? It's where they get this carbon ring, they put it round your head, and then they screw these bolts into your head, and then there's this big structure. So it's like the aspen collar, but literally you cannot move because it is attached to your skeleton through your... I was like, cool. So what do you mean? How do they attach it? And they basically have titanium screws that they tighten. You can see I don't know if you can see them. I've got like these little marks here and I've got some indentations here, and they literally kind of, they get one of these.
Oh wow!
I didn't know you brought one in.
They get one of these and they tighten it. So you cycle, they tighten it to 8 Newton meters and there's a torque wrench into your skull, and it goes nearly a centimeter in, and it's titanium, so you can go through all the scans. And this is one of them that goes into your head. So as much as I would recommend it, I wouldn't recommend it at all. And people say, you know, they ask you had the choice, and they say, would you make the same choice? Do you know what? If I knew what I knew now, the pain, man. I mean, yeah, have a feel.
So this has been in your skull?
That has been in my skull. If you feel how sharp it is, about a centimetre.
Wow.
And my, because...
And the reason for that choice was so that you could make it back to that level of sport and make a full physical recovery.
Yeah, that was the nothing's certain in life, not 100%, but that was the best chance for me to get back to the start line and be competitive. As the pain was wearing off, to be fair,
how long did you have to wear the halo for?
For 3 months. But and to be fair, the neck wasn't that painful because it wasn't moving. You know, it's like the bone.
Was it the most pain the skin?
3. I mean, you got an open wound. Basically, you've got these sticking out your head, and every day, 3 times a day, my wife would have to clean them. I couldn't wash my hair. I couldn't sleep in a bed. I had to sleep upright. Every time it moved, it was painful. There was one time when the medication I was on wasn't working. I was trying to get an Allen key to take it off myself. I had to get held down. It kept on getting loose, so they had to keep on tightening it. And don't forget, when they put this in, it was only local anaesthetic. I wasn't put to sleep or anything. And there's not much flesh there to absorb the local. We obviously made a documentary. The first cut of the documentary, they had to edit because it was the whole documentary was just too dark because it was quite a depressing time, you know, for me and my family and whatnot. So they kept on having to tighten them. And one great thing before Christmas is they said, look, we can't tighten this one anymore. And I was like, you beauty, it's coming off early, because if we tighten it anymore, every time they tighten it, it's going further and further into your skull. It's going to go into your brain because we can see in the CAT scan. And I was like, so we're going to have to take that one out and drill another hole next to it. So I actually I've actually got 2 holes one side, 1 hole the other side, because I had, just before Christmas, I was thinking, I've got it off. And I didn't, I had to.
And so it did make your neck did make a full recovery.
It did make a full recovery.
And in hindsight, despite that, you still maybe would have gone back and done a different approach.
There are days when I do, and I mean, like, the pain is serious for 3 months. And, you know, when you're out the other side, when you're out the storm and you look back, but then when you're on your own, you think about some of those days in that storm, you know, you think, God, like, what would I invite? If it was one of my kids, what would I say to them? Would I say, you know, and would I go for it? Don't go for it. You know, in that moment in time, is it worth it? It was and it wasn't, because did I win have I won Kona? No. Did I go any faster? No. But I still did some great things for me personally. But again, that perspective changed. Again, we wouldn't make the same decisions. You know, I'm sure in life, you know, whether it was having that extra drink, whether it was doing that extra mile that pulls your hamstring, or not listening to your coach, or you know, it's, I don't know. There are days when I would have gone, hell yeah, all in. But there are days when I think, oh no, man, you know, it was a tough ask, you know. Yeah.
You say you did go on to do some things you're really proud of, obviously, after. Well, I've seen you went straight back to training pretty quickly. There's a picture of you on the bike with the halo.
Yeah.
You ran a marathon within 6 months of the accident.
Yep. Probably my first, it was my first ever marathon. So through one of my sponsors on running, they made a documentary. They approached me. I got this. I remember I was in the park with Hugo, my son, pushing him. My daughter was at nursery, and I got a phone call. I'm like, Switzerland? Who's that? And it was Olivia, who is the founder of On, who's a friend of mine. We used to race each other back in the day, you know, through triathlon, and I used to train a lot in Switzerland. I've got connections there, and he said, "Look, don't answer this now. We really want to make a documentary about what's happened to you. It's not about you winning. It's not about this, not about that. Have a think about it, and let me get back to you." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "I'm gonna go. Just think about it." And I remember talking to my wife and I was like, "Yeah, okay." And they said, and then so we started the process, and they said, "Look, would you want to run a marathon?" And I thought, do you know what? Why not? And I was thinking, oh, I'd love to run London one day. And they said, what about Boston? And yeah, we know the majors, and Boston really got pushed up, unfortunately, you know, after the Boston bombings. And I was in America, and everyone's like, oh my God, it's impossible to get a start there. You got to do it. And I was like, yeah, okay. So yeah, it was 6 months and a couple of days after I broke my neck. I stood on the start line, and probably to this day are the worst conditions Boston Marathon has ever had. It was that point-to-point headwind, driving range. I was freezing at the end. So yeah, I did. I told everyone I wanted to run under 3 hours, but secretly I wanted to run under 2:50, and I ran 2:49:52. So yeah, I was wrecked. You know, I shouldn't have done it, but you know what it's like when someone offers a challenge, you don't cower away for it. You're like, hell yeah. So yeah, it was great, and you know, it was the only marathon I've run with loads of people around me, because in an Ironman you're always on your own, or someone's going flying past you, or hopefully you're flying past someone. And I loved it. I was chatting to people. I was, you know, really embracing it, except for at Heartbreak Hill at the fire station. Yeah. Oh my days. That is my quads were just screaming at that stage.
Well, just a testament to your mental strength to get back there so quickly.
Or stupidity.
Maybe. I guess my final question, you then went on to retire. You mentioned it to me on the run earlier, which is that I think you said, June, professional athletes have to die twice. How have you found, June, being the greatest in a sport in the world, and now no longer seeing that sport for your day-to-day purpose? And how have you managed to find, June, structure beyond retirement? And how have you found that?
It's been tough, I'll be honest. I mean, you know, you've got this hell-bent kind of like desire, this laser focus on whether it is to get back from injury, to be a world champion, break a world record, you know, to kind of like, well, what am I going to do now? You know, I'm now in my mid to late 40s, and it's like, I will never be as quick. I will never reach those heights. And it did take some adjustment. You know, I've always loved the process. I've always taken a keen interest. I still have my training diaries from 1992. You know, they're in our garage. You know, to the whole online. You know, and you know, I slowly decided to do a little bit of coaching, helping out with friends, and so I you know, that became a real focus. And you know, one of the last things I did through lockdown, I was fortunate enough, I went to the Paralympics as a guide for Dave Ellis. You know, again, it was finding different challenges. Through that, I saw triathlon in a whole humbling, unique way. You know, I've got children who race as well. And and then there was I got approached by someone from, which was then Super League, saying, do you want to do these arena games? We want to do an angle where an Ironman, but you're obviously a good short course. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I actually raced the arena games in London, where you swim in the pool, you ride on Zwift, and then you run on Zwift. And then through that, it opened up doors for me to work with Super Tri. So I manage one of the Super Tri teams, and I wouldn't say, you know, I guess I'm living my fantasies, you know, through other people, and I get just as kicked when my team do well, you know, podium racing, you know, when my athletes, you know, they go, I did the same loop 3 beats slower at the same kind of like pace, you know, for me, those are my wins. So, but then there are days when, you know, you know, it's such a social thing is sport, especially even elite level, age group level. You have run clubs, you have park runs, you have triathlon clubs. I had training groups. You know, there are days and I'm sat there going, I'm going to go for a run on my own. God, I miss those days. But then when I say it, I smile. So, you know, I'm so fortunate you know, the life I've lived, and, you know, I've got a lot more to give. And now for me, it's just finding a way of giving back. I always say I'm a custodian of the sport. No one owns triathlon, and anyone that says they do, whether it's a big brand or an individual, it'll always evolve. It'll always change. We had our first world champs in 1989 in Avignon. And that was in 1989. By the year 2000, we're an Olympic sport. Now we've got 2 medals in the Olympics. You know, Ironman has gone from a company that was worth nothing to $1 billion company, and it's taken everyone up with, you know, it's the endurance world is oh man, it's just growing. It's such a great community to be part of. So it is hard. It really is. But yeah, I wouldn't change anything. Well, maybe not getting ill before Beijing, not getting hit by that car.
Well, no, what an incredible roller coaster, and we can't wait to see the impact you have on triathlon and sport around for the next 50 years or whatever it is.
Easy. Don't tell my wife that.
We're going to segue over to Steph with our coaching tip of the week.
My top tip today is on structure and motivation. If you're really struggling to get your training going, then sign up to a training plan. Here at Runna, we'll help you tick off the sessions, we'll hold you accountable, and we'll give you that extra bit of motivation. Having a training plan takes away that internal debate of what run should I do today? Should I rest? Should I gym? We will do all the planning for you, so you simply need to tick off the sessions as you go.
Thanks for that, Steph. I'm going to bring us back with a discussion sent in from one of our runners. Okay. I've always dreamed of taking on an Ironman, but every time I start training, I hit setbacks, injuries, exhaustion, or just life getting in the way. I feel like I'm stuck in a cycle of stopping and starting, and I'm starting to doubt whether I'm really capable of finishing one. Tim, as someone who has faced massive setbacks and still come back stronger, how do you know when to push through and when to listen to your body? And how do you stay motivated when things don't go to plan?
Oh, it's a great question. I think first thing is whether you're a professional or an amateur, everyone has setbacks. And I think nothing's linear. You know, you're not going from A to B, you're going up, down and around. I like to break things down. You know, yes, you've got that goal at the end of the year of competing in Ironman, but you want to do X, Y, Z first. So let's have that in the back of our mind, but just focus on what you want to do today, this week, next week. You know, there's so many metrics out there that we can use. They're great tools, not the religion, but they're great tools to monitor our body. So again, when we listen to those, we can use those for pushing. Don't be afraid to talk to your friends, train with other people, because sometimes you think you're training with someone and you don't want to tell them that you're absolutely exhausted and you don't feel like this 2-hour bike ride, and they're feeling exactly the same. And I think you'd be amazed how many people feel like that, because let's be honest, Ironman, a marathon, they're so daunting. I mean, it's 10, 11, 12, 13, you know, however long of physical activity, you have to be able to chunk it down and staying positive. You know, the highs are so high because often the lows are tough. But again, I think it's just being in that moment, just realizing that you will get through it. You will wake up tomorrow. The body will turn up. But yeah, you got to listen to your body. So it's important you're doing that. But you're not the only one that has setbacks, whether they're, you know, physical, you know, things getting in your way, work, travel. I hope that helps.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think also I would say that, like, for so many people, we have this big goal. Imagine it's London Marathon and you get a bit of an ache or a pain along the way. I think so much of it is to also remember, like, the big picture, long-term goal. And I think for so many people listening, for like amateurs, for normal people, hopefully the goal is to have a long-term, healthy, happy relationship with exercise and with running or with triathlon. And therefore, if it's the case that maybe we actually have to take our time, overcome an injury, but that allows us to have all summer long ahead of training and exercising and being happy, that's much better than persevering, pushing through a little ache or a pain to make it into an injury, getting around that race, but then actually taking 3 months off because you've really hurt yourself. And I think thinking about the big picture is hard, especially when you have these short-term goals. But I think thinking about the big overlying or underlying goal, I think, is so much more important to then hopefully depressurize those short-term goals as well.
Oh, absolutely. And again, like, you don't want to finish it and go, oh, hanging up my bike.
No.
Or, I don't want hanging up my shoes, not doing another marathon. Maybe what did Stephen Redgrave say? If you see me near a boat again, shoot me. You know, you might have that initial, but you want to, within a day, you want to say, that was pretty good fun. Yeah. You know, maybe I will do an autumn marathon, or I will look at going I can improve here, and I wonder this and that, you know, and get that excitement going. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, the most important thing is being happy and enjoying it.
Yeah.
Right, moving on. We have got some slightly silly this or that's for you.
Okay.
Would you rather, if you did a triathlon or your next triathlon, would you rather do it with just the one gear on your bike, or you have to do it in running shoes with no cleats?
Okay. How long's the triathlon and what's the gear?
Okay. That's a good question. What's the gear?
Because it does.
It's an Olympic distance triathlon. It's hilly. Ooh. And it's the middle of your cassette. So it's like normal middle of the range gear, comfortable on the flats.
One gear.
That's your only gear.
I'll go for one gear.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one gear over cycling.
Oh, what? And you'd grind that up the hills?
Yeah, I would.
And you'd spin it down the downhills?
Spin it freewheel, shake the legs out.
Really?
Yeah.
Because there's a gain to be had in trainers. That there's no cleats to be putting on. You can jump off that bike pretty quick.
Yeah, but over a 2-hour event, the transition, and again, the transition is only a minute, 30, 40, 50, 2 minutes. So you might gain 8 seconds there, but then just the direct transfer of power.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're going.
And hopefully it's not too hilly. Now, come on, if I look at the profile and go, that's bloody outdoers, mate.
What about you, Annie? What are you going for?
When you just said the transition's like 50 seconds a minute, I've done like 8-minute
long
transitions.
Annie does full face of makeup in there.
I love it. Brilliant. She
does a fake tanning as well.
I would do one gear as well. I've got a really bad, what is gear ratio? I don't know what it's called.
You got
chain rings.
You've got a small cassette, so you don't have many gears.
Yeah, and I cycled in Morsey and everyone was so shocked at how little I changed gears anyway.
Oh, really?
It's probably bad.
I forgot my cleats to the Blenheim Palace Triathlon last year, and I still got the fastest cycle leg of the whole race.
Yeah, but look at the size of your quads. I'm not surprised. You just powered
I'm going no cleats.
Yeah.
It was quite funny dismounting because I basically dismounted at a full sprint.
Yeah.
Okay, second one.
Yeah.
Would you rather tomorrow run a marathon or do a 70.3 triathlon?
As in, go for it, not just I'm going to jog
I
round.
think tomorrow there's the London Marathon tomorrow. You're running you just want to get round and get the medal.
London Marathon.
Or there's the London 70.3 that gets invented and is tomorrow. Which of those two distance would you rather do complete tomorrow?
I think the marathon. Yeah, I love the River Thames, but I ain't getting in it. No, I've done my fair share of triathlons. I think, I've only done one standalone marathon, so yeah.
Do you reckon you'll be back for another marathon then?
Half marathons. I've run cross country, competitive. Yeah, it's a big commitment. I know I'd say, I'll do it for fun, and I'll go, I could do this. Maybe this, do that, and the other, and I will do another marathon for sure. Yeah.
What would you do, Ben?
Oh, I think 70.3. I love a 70. Marathons are tiring. I think like you get to sit down in a triathlon for half of it, and then you've only got to run half marathon. Marathons are real hard work.
Yeah.
What about you?
Obviously a marathon.
You're doing that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Last one. Would you rather a historic world record before carbon shoes, before what we know about nutrition that we do now and all the bike advancements, or the current world record? So basically your position.
I'd go for what I've done. I think because there's always going to be advancements. You know, I don't know. It's carbon and foam. It's, you know, the bikes are only getting quicker. The suits are only getting quicker. Then there's always, you know, bicarbonate sober. You know, that didn't. You know, there's always different ways to, you know, to fuel yourself, and also the training methods. You know, we can learn more about. We can get more data points through real time, I don't know, sweat data, through your, you know, your HRV, you know. So yeah, I'm what I've done. Yeah.
Nice. Our final question that we like to ask everyone.
Okay.
If you could build your dream race.
Yeah.
So first of all, you need to think about what sport it is.
Okay.
But your dream race, what is it? What's the distance and what sport is it?
Yeah.
Where is it in the world?
Mm-hmm.
What food and drink do you get when you finish?
Mm-hmm.
And who gives out the award?
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about your dream race.
My dream race. So I think it would have to be a triathlon of some sort. Mm-hmm. See, the problem is I like aspects of different geographical areas, you know, so it'd be nice to swim in the nice warm waters, but then run.
Well, you could cycle from a nice place to a nice place to run. And...
I think there's something about running, swimming, biking, a point to point.
Okay.
So let's just, I think kind of like maybe, I don't know. So yeah, the swim is a point to point. And I can make this up. It doesn't have to exist. So definitely, wherever it is, you've got a current behind you. So you're going to be swimming really quick.
Okay,
you're going to be
real
loving
fast.
it.
Swim down the river. Got it.
Swim down the river. Transition areas just there on a platform, so everyone can see you. I quite like that. Definitely, I'm going for a gravel bike.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And only about 55k, 60k.
Okay.
So that would be maybe similar time to a 70.3. Oh, the swim would be 2k downstream. A gravel bike, not too technical, but really scenic. So I like a bit of everything. So some soft sand to get you going. Aid stations, I would like those to be a moving aid station. So yeah, so you don't have, you know,
on the go.
On the,
Okay,
so the van or whatever pulls up as you're going. You got the smorgasbord of whatever you want there.
So it's like a drive-through at full speed.
At full speed, I
you.
like that. Again, second transition indoors, you know, and again, perfect weather. So 22, 23 degrees, sunny, not too hot.
Okay.
Obviously a tailwind on the bike the whole way, point to point. So, you know, not that I like going fast or anything. Yeah, so the transition.
And there's a downhill run?
No, we haven't got to the run. We're still at transition. T2, definitely indoors. But I want this like, the car washes, something like that. So you come out, you're not all dusty. You've got, mud all over your face from all the gravel. A really smooth transition. And then I think the perfect distance for me is 15 kilometers. Not downhill, but again, point to point, finish in a big city. So this is all off like beautiful scenery, but you finish the last K downtown London, New York, Sydney, Tokyo.
Okay.
Roads are closed. You're finishing through there.
Sunset as well?
Okay. That's for the party. I like a sunset party on the rooftop, the Shard.
Are you finished on the rooftop?
No. You got to go up all the steps.
Okay.
Chance.
Yeah,
so you finished, I don't know, say it was London, down the Mall.
Yeah.
Like loads of people there. And I know this is boring and I am quite old. Definitely my kids, my family, you know.
They're presenting the medal at the end.
You know, when I was younger, I'd have probably said some A-list celebrity, you know, David Beckham kicks over a football, you know, the medal drops out, puts it on, got the Spice Girls in the background, whatever. But definitely my family there.
And what's the celebratory food and drink?
Look, you know what they say about pizza? You get good pizza and you get great pizza. So a really nice wood-fired margarita, maybe a bit of pepperoni on, Again, very fond of red wine, so a really nice glass of Barolo with my family, and then everyone who's been on that journey, all the marshals. God, we've got to thank those marshals. You know, they're all there, and we have a really good on the top floor as the sun's going down.
I think this is going to sell out.
I can't wait. I'm already.
This is fantastic.
Mailing list.
Well, I think there's every single one of our listeners is ready to come. So just let us know when it's out,
I'll
and
see you on the start line. That's it.
Wow. Well, Tim, thank you so much for telling us your journey, your story. It's so inspiring. I'm sure you've inspired so many. And well done on everything you've achieved. And we cannot wait to see what you do next as well.
Oh, thank you for having me. And keep it up at Runna.
Well, thanks, Tim. Today's podcast is powered by Runna. Runna is the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide. And whatever your running goal, whether you're looking to do your first 5K, improve your time over the 10K, or even run a marathon or an ultra marathon, we'll build you the personalized training for you to help you get there and enjoy the process along the way. If you want to download the Runna app, you'll get 2 weeks for free with code podcast25. And if you're already a Runna customer, you can head to the premium offers section where we've got a 15% off discount for you off any of our Runna merchandise.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, subscribe. And if you loved it, give us a 5-star rating. And we'll be back next week with another inspiring guest. See you then.